So tonight's big story is Old Town. Have you been down there lately? Do you know why they call it Old Town? I want to read a quick description from Travel Portland. This is the one that's online right now. The city's oldest neighborhood is filled with surprises, from authentic Chinese restaurants, tea houses, and a city block-sized traditional garden. Portland's original downtown is a bustling entertainment district and streetwear shopping hub. That's one way to put it. Yeah, it is full of surprises. I'll admit that. But I think you're missing a few details. For instance, Old Town currently is nothing like that at all and is actually a total disaster. Its streets are lined with tents and homelessness and suffering and addiction, mental illness and violence. The businesses are struggling, not just to stay open, but to keep their workers safe. Same goes for some of the nonprofits that are down there. And some of the people who live in that area or commute through there are terrified or are becoming victims of some of this violence. Now, we've been wanting to do a story on Old Town for some time now because we know that it's less of a bustling entertainment district and more like a humanitarian crisis with lives on the line. And I'm not overstating that. Over the summer, just a few examples here. Over the summer, an out-of-town visitor, a tourist, was chased by a woman and stabbed in the street. The attack was random, unprovoked, and it happened in the middle of the day. Or this story, in late August, when two women and a boy, a 6-year-old, were attacked by a woman with a hatchet and an axe while they waited in line for pizza. Or all of the shootings that we've seen down in that area, like this one we reported on, when 5 people were shot at a vigil in Old Town, while those people were down at the vigil remembering their friend who was killed after being shot in Old Town. In the last year, there have been 5 homicides in Old Town. The year before, there were 0. There have been 20 shootings over the past year in Old Town, more than twice than the number that we saw there the year before. And the vast majority of those, 70% of them, were just in the last 6 months. And let me give you an example of just one of those shootings, like the vigil shooting that I mentioned just a moment ago, a drive-by that was caught on hotel surveillance camera. I don't know what kind of gun that is. And that counts, all those shots, that counts as one shooting in the books. That is the real Old Town. Or should I say Chinatown, right? That's the other name that it goes by because of its rich history of Chinese influence. Remember what Travel Portland said? The authentic Chinese restaurants, tea houses, and a city block-sized traditional garden. Well, that traditional garden is a treasure in this city, or at least it's supposed to be. This is footage from the KGW vault when Lan Su opened 21 years ago. Everything inside was shipped from China. This was a huge deal. It's about as authentic as you can get in the U.S. Everyone in town got all dressed up, and the city bragged about it during the grand opening.
It's a whole different experience when you're here alone and the lighting is illuminating certain parts of trees, certain parts of rocks, things like that. It's just a very tranquil, it transports you to another realm, really.
This garden has surpassed anything that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Our story featured former Mayor Bud Clark walking around with a camcorder in one hand and a glass of wine in the other hand. Check him out. This project was built on a full city block of very valuable city-owned land in a city full of politicians who claim to respect and honor the Pacific influence on our culture here from the generations of Asian immigrants and their relatives. But 21 years and that grand opening was a long time ago. Things have changed. The executive director of Lan Su sent out this letter to everyone involved with the garden explaining that the situation there is dire. I'll let her explain the details. This is Elizabeth Nye.
I have had staff in the last week assaulted. I have had staff in their cars chased with people chasing after them with metal pipes. We had somebody die on the streets right next to Lan Su. We have had gunshots. All of this is too much to ignore and not address. We will do what is necessary for us to keep our staff, our visitors, and our volunteers safe.
So what does that mean? They're going to do whatever they have to do. Well, what it's meant so far is that they've had to hire private security. And then they've already had to increase the patrols of that security because things were worse than they even thought they were. They've been partnering with nonprofits to clean up the sidewalks outside. The city isn't doing it, they are. The workers who work there and the volunteers who work there have had to use the buddy system if they want to use public transit. You can really get a sense of the garden's tranquil influence, can't you? They sent us some of the most recent incident reports from the past few weeks. I want to read a couple of them for you here. A staff member was verbally threatened by a homeless woman. A staff member was physically assaulted on their way to work. A staff member was chased leaving work. A tent caught fire outside. Someone was publicly using drugs in the front plaza. A man was found dead in his tent. A trash can was stolen outside. And they sent us a video of a woman using a rock tied up in her sleeve to smash the front door.
Oh, that's not going to take very long. Yep.
I mean, it's one thing when you start to become numb. It's like, oh yes, oh my gosh, there was another attack. There was another forced entry. And then you just start thinking about one after another after another. It's enough. It's just too much.
Do you feel forgotten about by the people in this city?
That's a great question. I don't know that we are forgotten about. I feel like people see what is happening. I just am not convinced there's an urgency to addressing what is happening.
How urgent is this?
Now, it is extremely urgent.
So with that urgency, what is the city doing in Old Town? I'm told the mayor's office organizes a weekly program, a problem solvers meeting with the leaders down in that area, which does sound promising, but I hear that the only things they're really focusing on are things that the city considers to be quote unquote solvable problems. One of the examples I was given was an issue with parking. In fact, when I asked Elizabeth Nye about those meetings, she got a little bit upset.
If I gave you the power as police chief or as the mayor, what do you think? Do we need more police down here? Do we need more resources to get people care? Do we need?
I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. Some of the conversation has shifted to everybody knows what the problems are, so don't come to me unless you have solutions. That's what we're being told. Well, I don't have the solutions. My job is to run Lan Su. Your job is to show up and make our city safe so that we can do that.
And all of this in a place that's supposed to bring calm and tranquility to our city. The contradiction is glaring. And just so you fully understand what the people down there are dealing with, many of those people who work there are volunteers. Most of them are older people. Many of them are Chinese Americans. And this pandemic has made things especially tense for them. If you can believe it, they are still facing racism surrounding the coronavirus. People are actually paying money to go to a Chinese garden and then yell racist slurs at the workers there. And anti-maskers are regularly throwing fits because they have a mask policy. The venue is outside, so people think they can go there and maybe not have to wear a mask, but it's hard to be socially distant. So they require them, and people get mad and yell at those volunteers. Morale is at an all-time low. And to be honest, there's no light on the horizon. Or, in other words, a bustling entertainment district that's full of surprises.